Now, the Lions have been through some stuff.
Yeah.
This team has sucked.
A lot of stuff.
This team has been really bad, different ways of bad. But it's not just like outright terrible every game where they're losing like 70-0. No. They actually put up fights every single week, and they'd be in it, and then devastation at the end. And you think to yourself, oh, I've experienced that. My team's done that a few times a season. I experienced.
Sure.
The Detroit Lions experienced that for every game of every season for 50 straight years.
Forever.
Seemingly. In it, we're good, and then how do we mess this one up? Oh, I don't know. A guy hits a 66-yard field goal after a clear delay of game that doesn't get called, and it bounces off the middle when it goes through.
Yep.
Oh, there's another 57-yarder on Monday night that a guy hits miraculously. Oh, there's a catch that goes off two heads. Oh, there's no catch. Oh, that was their life. So on January 21st, 2021, when they hired this man named Dan Campbell, they had no idea what to expect.
Nope.
I assume there was a lot of folks that said, is this guy going to make my life happier in the fall? Is this guy going to be a guy that's going to win a playoff game for the Detroit Lions? Is this a guy who's going to be able to make us be relevant in the NFC North conversation in which we have been irrelevant for far too long? And then the press conference came. And this is what Motor City Dan Campbell said, his first statement as the Detroit Lions head coach.
This place has been kicked, it's been battered, it's been bruised, and I can sit up here and give you coach speak all day long. I can give you, hey, we're going to win this many games. I can't. None of that matters, and you guys don't want to hear it. In the teeth, all right, and when you punch us back, we're going to smile at you, and when you knock us down, we're going to get up, and on the way up, we're going to bite a kneecap off, all right, and we're going to stand up, and then it's going to take 2 more shots to knock us down, all right, and on the way up, we're going to take your other kneecap, and we're going to get up, and then it's going to take 3 shots to get us down, and when we do, we're going to take another hunk out of you. Before long, we're going to be the last one standing, all right, that's going to be the mentality.
Okay, that's all you need to know.
Uh-huh.
We're going to punch you in the mouth, and then we're going to end up being the last one standing no matter what, no matter how it has to happen. Remember, Dan Campbell was on the Detroit Lions that went 0-16 when a certain quarterback was quarterbacking for them.
Yeah. We all remember.
So he's been there. He understands what the city of Detroit is all about. And after that press conference, there's a lot of people that were mocking.
Wow.
That is not that's the opening press conference of an NFL head coach on a Zoom. Here's what I want to say to not only my players, my coaches, but to all the Detroit Lions fans. And I assume there were some Lions fans that thought, here we go.
Yep.
But they were getting kind of egged on to think that way by the national media.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Sports media cook this man. I think Eric Bieniemy was potentially up for the head coaching job at the same exact time. So this doofus getting hired over Eric Bieniemy was obviously chatted about everywhere. Here's the biggest show on TV, First Take, Max Kellerman's reaction immediately after the press conference.
Do you think Lions fans should be excited or concerned about their
If
new head coach?
If I'm a Lions fan, I'm concerned. I liked what Bieniemy had to say about not getting a job better than what Campbell said. If I'm evaluating talent, so to speak, at the head coaching position, and Bieniemy says, of course, this is something I'm working for, and I'm grateful to keep it, and I don't want to distract from what we're trying to accomplish, that sounds like a head coach to me. We're going to bite off their knee. I see what Campbell thinks he's trying to get across. But listen, you see from the introductory press conferences sometimes where like, uh-oh.
That's Max Kellerman.
Yeah.
That's on
Yikes.
First Take. Pretty big show. Another massive show at the same time, Colin Cowherd. Here's Colin Cowherd's tweet about it. If you're looking for winners and losers in tonight's trade, consider this. Jared Goff goes from Sean McVay to Fred Flintstone. Won't end well. Colin Cowherd, actually, pretty good bar there.
Yeah.
That would have made me laugh if I read it at the time. I'm sure I did. He was pumped about it, and he believed it as well. But then you think about what has happened to this Lions team. everything that Fred Flintstone had to say in that opening press conference has become true. They started drafting pillars that build the culture that they wanted. They set the culture publicly. This is the type of players we're looking for. When you get here, this is what we're doing. Dane Campbell's doing up downs. Penei Sewell is fighting people. Aiden Hutchinson is losing his mind, committing every single moment of his life to this team. It's like everything he projected was like a call to people who were coming to the Detroit Lions. And it worked out for the son of a bitch.
Nailed it.
It worked out.
They did it.
Here we are.
Yes.
On December 26, 2023.
Yes.
Not that
No.
far removed
Pretty quick.
from that opening press conference. And here's the speech that's being given now by Dan Campbell in a locker room after securing the first division championship in 3 decades for the Detroit Lions.
Man, you never forget your first one.
Yeah, true.
And there's
Still
a
the same
lot of you
guy.
in here, right? The first collectively, man, we didn't know coming into this season, there's a lot of new guys, right? We had some core foundation. But man, you find your new brothers, right? And you build from the ground up. And you've already developed through the core, which we did, man. We knew this wasn't going to be easy. You guys came in and earned it, and you've earned it all year. Give me the old guard up here right now. Come on, Decker. Come on, Decker. Germ.
The OG knee biters.
Whenever you do something like what we just did, it's special. It don't matter, man. And it don't matter how many you win in a row. They're special. But I can tell you this, when you're part of the organization, and it's been 30 years
Somebody just
it's special, man. And these guys have been fucking dying for it and waiting for it, man. It's for you, baby. This first one's for you. The rest of you people. Enjoy, baby.
Hell yeah. That's quite a come up from being the laughing stock of everybody to the first banner in 30 years. Good on Dan Campbell and all the boys and girls that work for the Detroit Lions.
Hell yeah.
What a run. Foxy, good for you.
Yeah.
One of your best beer chugs, you end up dumping it on your head. That was really good stuff for you. But, like, honestly, the ride to get here. Now, if you lose a playoff game, especially to Matthew Stafford, who's potentially coming back,
Right.
you know, and that whole thing, it's a sour taste for the entire offseason.
Right.
But we're going to enjoy the hell out of this at some point, right? Like right now we have to.
100%, Pat. When you're a fan of a team that has been so bad, like so bad, worst franchise in the history of sports, all you do as a fan is you find a little sliver of hope, right? You're just trying to find some sort of excuse to come back next year, after next year, after next year, whether it's the draft, whether it's a new player, or whether it's a brand new head coach and GM. And finally, we finally found that hope that came through, because normally, like you said, we lose in the most heartbreaking fashion.
And that game got
very close.
The Vikings started out.
Mullins drops a dime in that situation.
All we had to do was fall on a fumble, game over. 3rd and 28, Justin Jefferson makes a play, but then we did it. We get the interception, and we finally win a division championship for the first time in my life. And it literally is, like we always talk about on this show, culture, coaching, and then obviously you got to hit some draft picks. But Dan Campbell did all of this, and the way he did it for the people of Detroit and Lions fans everywhere, it couldn't be any more perfect. It's gritty, it's tough, and it's all hard work, and we are just so pumped about it. And I honestly, since Sunday, have not stopped thinking about it.
Hey, that's all. That's football, baby.
It's so sports are the best, and this is a great reason why.
Especially for the city of Detroit.
Yes.
How about him wearing that IndyCar helmet?
Oh, yeah.
You know, for the Detroit Grand Prix that happens up there every single year. Pretty big event, I think, for the
Very.
city of Detroit and also IndyCar as a whole. And then he just got cooked. He wore that thing. He got cooked. They were losing. They get their first win. How many wins in the first season of his head coaching?
They were 0-10-1, and they finally got their first win, and they ended up with 3 wins that year.
And he cried.
Oh, yeah.
And everybody, all right, okay. Okay. So they've been through it.
Oh, yeah.
And now they win the NFC North. And Ty, have you handed the crown over to Detroit? You know, because I appreciate the fact that Dan Campbell and the boys were like, you know, let's give Detroit one last same old Lions feel.
Yeah.
Let the Vikings start coming.
Remember?
Middle of the holiday, let's let them start creeping in. And then everybody in Detroit's like, wait, have we cured that problem of worrying about the Lions letting it go? Are we the brand new Lions, or are we the same old Lions? It started creeping into the family conversations, because they're breaking bread. They're talking about life. The Lions are on TV. This is the way holidays go. Wait a minute, the Vikings. Oh, some 60-year-old.
Oh, yes.
At some Detroit holiday gathering. Yep. Saw what was happening in that game. Oh, this is what they do. I told you. And instead, MCDC and the boys prove they're the brand new Lions and hang a banner. What a Christmas miracle. Now, Ty, are you passing a crown over to Detroit, or how's this whole thing go? Is there a sash, or how's this whole thing go?
I don't know if I'm going to relinquish the crown quite yet, because I told Foxy 6 years ago when we first met each other, when we were interns. I was like, listen, dude, I know you love the Lions. I know you've seen this story over and over again, but until Rodgers is done playing in this division, it literally doesn't matter what the Lions do. It just doesn't. And it didn't. Last year, that was kind of like the final nail in the coffin to the Rodgers era in Green Bay, when the Lions beat them week 18 to knock them out of the playoffs.
That was supposed to be for the playoffs for the Lions.
It was.
Seattle.
But it really is, even with them being in the division, it's hard not to be happy for the Lions and for Lions fans, because my entire life, not just Foxy's entire life, my entire life, the Lions have sucked. You look at that on the schedule, it's okay, boom, 2 wins, no matter what, doesn't matter. And the Lions historically, they play the Packers pretty well, but just they have done everything right. And then you look at the draft day this year, where all 3 of those guys that they drafted with their first 3 picks have made huge immediate impacts, and they get shit on right away just because it's the Lions. And
easy to do.
Because it's Dan Campbell. And for them to be able to, and even this year, more so than a lot of other teams, when they would lose or when they would get beat, immediately, these guys are frauds. They suck. It doesn't matter. And they kind of just, that bunker mentality, they had it all year.
Yeah.
They had each other's backs. It's really cool seeing them not just shit down their legs down the stretch here and actually close this thing out. But now you do have to win a playoff. That's just the way it goes. We
won a championship.
It's awesome, but that's
playoff,
how you break the, just happy to be here type thing. Now it's an expectation.
Big first step.
Exactly. Had the big first step, you have to go win at least your first playoff game this year. I don't know if you have to win the Super Bowl. That's a lot. But, if you want to get the stink off of just hey, we're just happy to be here. This is great. Those days are over.
Well, let them at least have a happy to be here moment.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. We're enjoying this one for sure.
And Barry Sanders used to hand the ball to the official because he'd been there before.
Yeah.
I'm what about the people who hadn't? There's first touchdowns happening all the time. Those people should be allowed to go bananas and not be judged then. Is that how we're all talking about everybody? No, you should act professional. It's what if you accomplish something you've never done before and you've been working your entire life for? How about the city of Detroit?
You have no idea how long I've daydreamed about this moment, and then I'm still daydreaming about that playoff win and eventually that Super Bowl win. Because you're going to be alive for a while, let's all hope, and all you can think about is someday they're going to do it. They have to do it. Inevitably, in 80 years, they're going to win a Super Bowl, a playoff game, whatever.
I saw something about human life expectancy is higher than it's ever been, by the way.
Bingo.
See the golfer one?
So maybe 90 years, maybe 100 years.
And so you just daydream about it so much, and that's what keeps you coming back. But that's also what makes you feel like an idiot, because when they don't do it, you're like, oh, another season. I spent 3 hours every single Sunday watching the team lose.
Let's jot this down. Let's remember happiness for Detroit before anybody else in the NFL right now on this day.
Yep.
Got to
champions.
30 years and
Bingo.
had T-shirt game, division game. You can take those for granted. You went to a winning organization out of the gate. I did as well. So it wasn't I'm sure a huge deal.
No,
coming in.
tossed.
Yeah, hat, T-shirt. Yeah, it's in your locker. All right, boom, we got it done. Now we're thinking about the playoffs. But to think about an organization, whether you've been there or not, 30 years, it wasn't even an NFC North at that point. And then not only did you do it, you did it your way. You built the team, him and the GM, Brad Holmes, in the identity of Dan Campbell. You go back to a lot of the Lions fans been pulling up an old tweet I had with them doing up downs and the team just looking like horse shit. Dan came up there doing up down. It's oh yeah, this team ain't gonna be worth nothing. And now to see how they've been, all the way up to this year, this draft, you just mentioned it, the draft picks that they took, where they took them because of the positional value and all this. And then not even do you take Jahmyr Gibbs, but then you don't even use them as much until kind of this point in the season, and now they look like a genius doing that. So just they've done it their way from the beginning. They're going to be a tough team. Obviously, some things to fix up, but to win a hat and T-shirt, man, to get that division, and first one in 30 years, him bringing the old guys, up into the front, that was a special moment. I'm sure for that group, that's only going to bring them closer. 11-4 right now. You got to enjoy this moment. Obviously, it's much more to be done, but it's a huge moment for that organization.